in a minute. And I want to let you all know that we checked with the weatherman to make sure that this would be a pleasant day for those who traveled from afar. I have the great opportunity today to introduce a young man who is no stranger to Milwaukee and no stranger to public housing. This young man was, was appointed by President Donald Trump to serve as the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, Midwest Regional Administration in Chicago, in the Chicago Regional Office in December 2017. He returned to his role as he was appointed by President George Bush to serve in this capacity from 2001 to January of 2009. He is over Minnesota, Ohio, Wisconsin, Indiana, Illinois, Michigan. And he has a great group of people working for him. He received his bachelor's degree in economics from the University of Illinois in Chicago. He studied under the urban planning at the University of Illinois at Chicago Graduate School of Urban Planning and Policy. And he undertook graduate studies in philosophy at Loyola University in Chicago. Now, that's not all of the things I could say about him, but time does not permit. He's a friend to us, and we always like to have friends, especially when they're bringing gifts. So at this time, I would like to introduce to some and present to others my friend Joe. And I'm not going to say his last name because I messed it up before. Thank you. And please tell him your last name, and I'm going to get it this time.
Good morning. It seems as I keep on coming back here and with all good news. And with all good news. First, I want to say on behalf of President Donald J. Trump and HUD Secretary Ben Carson, thank you. Thank you for being here today for this exciting announcement. And I believe it's exciting for the city, its people, and its future. I want to say thank you to Mayor Barrett for hosting us in this great city. Mayor, it's always a pleasure coming to the city. I love the food, but I love the people and the programs. I also want to say thank you to Tony Perez for his unwavering support and dedication to this community and for truly being a trailblazer in the industry. Not only did we come with money sometimes, but Tony and his crew got the Secretary's Award through the American Planning Association. It's a national award. It's huge. So, but it's huge because it talks about this city, housing, policy, and the vision. So that's all great. Let me say a couple words about a program that we have at HUD. It's a Job Plus initiative. The program was started and designed because we believe that just because individuals are of modest income, it does not mean they must have modest dreams. We all know they have the same aspirations for themselves and for their children as we all do. And we all benefit when every individual has a fair opportunity to achieve their God-given potential. And that's why I'm excited and extremely proud to announce that nationally, HUD has invested $14 million across 7 public housing authorities, including, and here's the announcement, $2.3 million in Jobs Plus funding right here in Milwaukee through the Housing Authority of the City of Milwaukee. One of the things I tell people as I travel across the country is Region 5 is the best region in the country. And when we have events like this, when we have the city of Milwaukee supporting the residents and the housing authorities in HUD, well, what can I say? They give us money, right? We believe that our work at HUD is more than just about bricks and mortars. It's about upward mobility. It's about using housing as a platform to help folks better their lives. Secretary Carson's vision for HUD is to focus on policies that develop people so that they can climb the ladder of opportunity and ultimately move from dependence to self-sufficiency. The Secretary and I, we were calling it last week, Secretary's Week in the Midwest. We were at Cleveland, we were in Detroit, we were in Flint, and we were in Chicago. And everywhere he went, he kept on saying, housing is more than just bricks and mortars. And we need to concentrate not only on the programs, but more importantly, we need to concentrate on the individuals. The Secretary, being a doctor, has said, you don't measure the success of a hospital by the number of patients going in. You measure it by the number of healthy people coming out. It's the same thing with this Jobs Plus program. We're going to do the metrics to look at the number of people who are going to benefit from these dollars. It's not about the number of people coming in to a program. It's rather the number of people who are being employed, who are bettering their lives, and who are participating in the community. Jobs Plus has three core components: employment-related services. Grantees offer employment-related services to residents with a range of employment needs. That includes services such as work readiness training, employer linkages, financial counseling, educational advancement, job placement, and employment counseling. The other, number two, is financial incentives. Targeted residents enrolled in the Jobs Plus program will be granted 100% income disregard that will remain in place for up to 48 months. And we do this because residents are fearful sometimes if they increase their income. And they think that if they increase their income, they'll lose their housing. For 48 months, we're saying no, because we allow people to gain that income so that they can better themselves and maybe hopefully move out of public housing to let the next group of people move in. Finally, community support for work. Grantees market Jobs Plus for services and financial incentives to all targeted residents in a public housing development. The goal is to saturate communities with work-related messages and to create a culture of work. Last thing I want to talk about, Envision Centers. The Envision Centers is a secretarial initiative. There are 17 that were designated across the country, 5 in Region 5. Once again, we lead the way. But it's all about economic empowerment, educational advancement, health and wellness, and character and leadership. This program fits in nicely with the Envision Center, and hopefully the housing director, Mr. Executive Director, and his staff, he's not looking at me, will see their way through to maybe supporting an Envision Center here in Milwaukee. Having said that, I just want to say congratulations again to this great city, to the Housing Authority, and Mayor, to your leadership. God bless you.
Well, Mr. Administrator, as I've said before, we welcome you to Milwaukee. You're right. It seems that whenever you're coming, it's good news, and so we're happy you're here. We're happy you have close ties to our city as well. My remarks say that I should react to announcement. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. We're very, very pleased to have this. And when you look nationally, the fact that there's $14 million that's being distributed nationally, the fact that we are receiving $2.3 million, which is tied for the highest amount, tells you not only your advocacy, but tells you the great work that's being done here at the Housing Authority. And I think that that's what has allowed us to get this grant, is the work that's being done right here at our Housing Authority. I'm a big believer in momentum, positive momentum and negative momentum. In other words, if you can get something going in the right direction, the energy will continue. If it's going in the wrong direction, I think we all recognize it can become a downward spiral. This program, to me, is all about creating positive momentum. Taking people, oftentimes with challenges in their lives, and allowing them to get ahead of the game, to be able to put themselves in a place where they can feel good enough to go out and get a job without losing their housing, stay in the workforce, and hopefully get to that point where they can be totally self-sufficient. So to me, this rewards work. It recognizes the importance of housing. It recognizes that people have challenges in their lives, that we have to be there to help them help themselves work through that. And our partnerships here, I think, are what are going to allow us to do that. Because of our relationship between the Housing Authority and Employ Milwaukee, our workforce development agency, we're going to be able to get the coaching that's necessary, again, to create that positive momentum. You can do this. We can do this together. This is something that's important. And we know that there are opportunities here. There are opportunities to the south in the heart of the city. It's our hope that we'll have the business community more engaged and create some economic opportunities to the north of here in areas like Century City as well. But this is, I think, an incredibly important step forward because it understands, and again, it recognizes the potential that the residents here at Hillside have in transforming their lives. It's a transformational opportunity for individuals to not only be able to work with Employ Milwaukee, but with MATC, with the Boys and Girls Clubs, with Milwaukee Community Services, with Progressive Community Health Centers, Milwaukee Community Service Corps. Our partners are all going to be there to provide that support. So I want to thank you for doing this, for believing in Milwaukee, for believing in the dreams that we have here. And as you can see right here, this is something that's not idle chatter. If you look at the pictures, and I think most of us are familiar with these pictures from West Lawn Gardens, I am very proud when I take visitors through this part of the city because most of them can't believe that this is public housing. Not because it's so grand, but because it is so respectful. That's the word I use. It's so respectful of individuals who live in public housing. It recognizes that all of us want to live in neighborhoods where we can feel safe, that are clean, that are sustainable from an environmental perspective. And it was all of that and the leadership here that has allowed that to happen and allowed us to win the National Planning Excellence Award. So I want to thank Tony again for his leadership, for his incredible staff that has allowed us to get where we are today. But we're never done. We're never done, and we're going to continue to push forward very aggressively. I think if you haven't learned already, but I think you have, this is a very proactive city. This is a very proactive organization. We want to get more of our residents involved. We want to get more economic opportunity, and this is going to help us take that step forward. Thank you. And with that, I'm going to bring up Tony Perez, who does, again, a great job here as Executive Director of HACM. Tony?
Good morning, and like often, after that gentleman speaks, I gotta lower the mic here. Not lowering expectations, though. Those he has it higher than his microphone when he puts it up for me. Just yesterday, folks, the chairman of the board of the 6th largest bank in the United States, while visiting their territory and flying in their private jet, asked to be taken to West Lawn Gardens. We prep a presentation. We had it tight to the minute, the 45 minutes that we were going to have there. Mind you, it became the hour 20 where he needed to catch that plane and head back to Pittsburgh. You figure out who that bank is, but I think there's something in there that might give it away for you. We were ready to discuss real estate, finances, how that bank potentially could help leverage the continuation of the work, not only in that location, but for the Housing Authority. However, we shocked the presentation in a moment's time. What he was there to find out, wanted to ask questions, was how to use that same platform, real estate, finances, neighborhood redevelopment, and discuss the human capital. How to use that to leverage the human capital in the area, mixed income, mixed use, revitalize an area in need. When he spoke about this, then he drilled down on on that human development element of children all the way to early education. And his take on the matter was, we want to do this in Pittsburgh. And so we'll send the folks to learn more about this. Yes, we felt particularly heartened by that thought. However, it's more than that. And you might have heard recently in the annual meeting of the places, look at our website about housing is and the use of this platform in order to work with individuals that want to improve their life chances. And in doing so, opening the doors for others to gravitate through that housing and once again, platform out of that. Hillside was our first Hope 6 site. It was a federal government that intended to dedicate not only dollars for the physical improvement, but also for that human capital. And we haven't seen those dollars onto the Choice neighborhood again, came around. At the time, they were probably north of 30% of the residents that were reporting earned income. At the time of their involvement with the project, they were in excess of 60%. And this was the same cohort of individuals and families. These things can be done. They require deliberate, intense perseverance, and individuals that want to improve their life chances. You hear about work requirements and time limits around being discussed, time and time again, depending on the ebbs and flows of where an administration might position itself. Shock, most of Hillside residents are already working. They work that way, often in many downtown jobs. However, there's a group. We figure out that there's probably out of that universe around 40% of those that are currently unemployed and underemployed also. Mind you, the average income for the residents here is around $19,000 a year. Help is needed. It is up to them to step to the plate. This is a loving, value-added proposition. And so it is important that residents understand that their role in here is key and paramount. Director Galvan mentioned about the metrics. MDRC did a study on Job Plus, so we have a leg up because this has been tried in other places. PDR, which comes out of the HUD and urban development, have laid out best practices, not so good practices, strategies that didn't work or might work in certain markets, in others not. So we do also believe in accountability, and we will be definitely expecting to have these metrics that not only would support the intent. Often you see cameras, grant is announced, you're gone. Business Journal, look me up in a little while. Look us up in a general. It says, so what's happening with that? So we can tell you the good, the bad, the indifferent, the ugly about what's all playing out, because it's important. These are human endeavors, and these dollars don't come easy. And so we pursue these, and we intend to make it work. But like we say, and I often do, it takes a village to raise a village. So thank you, all the villagers. The mayor mentioned the Employ Milwaukee's, the Resident Council of Hillside, the WIBEX of the world, Boys and Girls Club, Progressive Health, MCSC, WRTP, Wisconsin Regional Training Partnership, the Adult Learning Center, and MATC. And since I see my successor at the Milwaukee Community Service Corps, which I used to be young before I started doing that job with young people, to the young people over here, our motto was, what works best is work itself. So let's go at it. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I see you got it. Now, when we talk about the villagers, see one villager that makes a difference here. So with us is Commissioner Daniels. Commissioner Daniels, and I mentioned this to the Business Journal reporter here, which is important, is there are 2 seats in the Board of Commissioners of the Housing Authority, and those are designated for residents. And so it is not only that voice that is important to represent the residents, but it's also how she's able to craft that message and take it out and create further leadership down the line.
Thank you, Tony. Well, good morning. Again, my name is Sherry Daniels. I'm not going to say how long I've lived here in Hillside, but I want to say it was before Kennedy was president, before Knowles was governor, and most of you too young to even know who I'm talking about, but the mayor should know that when I say before Meyer was the mayor. So I'm not here to talk about me. I'm here to thank HUD for allowing us this funding. Back here in the fall, I got a call from the Housing Authority. They wanted to meet about applying for the grant. When we sat there, I pulled some residents together, and we met right here in this room. Thanks to Sue. What we did was we talked about the barriers for employment, especially based around the residents here in Hillside and some in Milwaukee as well. When we talked about those things, thank you. The things that they talked about, apparently it was very effective because now we have $2.3 million to work with. On the behalf, I want to say I thank from all of the residents here at Hillside, speaking on them, thank you so much for this opportunity, and I know it'll be put to good use. I want to say oftentimes low-income housing residents, we face barriers to linkage to services and employment. However, it's important that with this grant, we'll support the support work includes employer linkage, job placement and counseling, educational advancement, and financial counseling, which are very, very important components for a component. On behalf of the Housing Authority and Hillside Terrace residents, we are so grateful for this funding and opportunity that it will provide. I hope for continued support on our mission to foster strong, resilient, and inclusive communities. Also, by providing a continuum of highly quality housing options that support self-sufficiency, good quality of life, and opportunities to strive. This is also important to our residents here at Hillside as well as through all public housing residents in Hillside. So as Tony says, our director, it takes a village to raise a village. It definitely does. And we are a village, and we're looking very forward to start implementing the work that we're going to be doing. I'm very excited. I know all the residents are. And Vice Scott here, which has been a vice chair here and a longtime resident, just as many presidents and governors and mayors as we have, are looking forward to making this happen. And so we will work hard and diligently, and we will make our executive proud, HUD proud, because once after it is really in effect, I know many residents will embrace this here and make this program a success. So again, I want to thank everyone participating, listening to us, and having faith and confidence in us as residents. So at this time, I guess we'll open up for questions. Thank you.
Well, before we get into questions, we do have this. So if we can just have the mayor, Tony, and the chair, and come on up and
Show me the money.
show me the money. There you go.
Hang on, let's get everybody here.
Are there any questions about the program, the check?
Yeah, what is this $2+ million translate to? How many people might that affect? Is there an idea of what that really translates to?
You had a cohort, right, Maria, about the number of families that could be impacted?
About 275 families.
Well, it's right there.
Get over here.
Okay, I'm Sue Canale. I work for the Housing Authority. This is my boss. It'll be about 275 families that will be able to enter the program. And the goal is, of course, if they are underemployed, to pick their wages up a bit. If they haven't been employed before or have had difficulties being employed, our partners will be there to sort of smooth the way. And the Employ Milwaukee, which is the local workforce investment board, will be providing some connections to employers who are willing and able to specifically work with people who may have some issues with regular job placement. As Commissioner Daniels mentioned, there are sometimes impediments. People are inexperienced when it comes to the world of work. They've had no role models for regular employment within their families. This program intends to saturate this community to make sure that working is the norm and that there's an expectation that everybody should have a job if they have the ability to do that kind of work.
It's important to note that, and this is something that belongs to Secretary Carson in particular. For those that will take $2.3 million divided by the number of people, and I said, wow, you might as well send them a check, right? Because that's how usually we gravitate to these. It's using some of those resources that are coming into town and literally to freeze that cliff. The one that says at a point in time, regardless of your 30% of income, if your income increases, your rent increases. You know, that might be a bit of a challenge. Particularly when you look about the cost, you know, that involves. And some of these dollars will be actually dedicated in order to support the fact that the rent is now frozen at a level, and you can continue to earn up to a certain point, and then hopefully you have other choices, and we will assist you in other choices about your livelihood and your housing. So some of those dollars help the organization, help the enterprise, the housing authority, do not be injured as a landlord, because we would still be able to draw from those funds in order to make up that variance that now has been created, you know, God willing, by raising income.
Can we talk about how we settle on that 14-month timeline where?
That actually is HUD's sort of parameter. So we do what the grant says. But obviously through their experience with previous jobs pluses, that seems to be the comfortable margin. And again, if you're working with residents who have had difficulty getting a job or keeping a job, it takes 12 months to 15 months for folks to get into the routine about being able to go to work every day, to acquire the kinds of skills and the kinds of knowledge they need to not only keep the job, but perhaps enhance their wages and gain more experience.
And certainly, it just goes to what the Secretary and HUD is looking at in terms of self-sufficiency. We don't want to create a disincentive to work. We don't want to create a disincentive to finding employment, to raising income. Because one of the things, and this program has been going on for a few years, but we've recognized that if you can freeze it, people aren't going to be afraid to find employment. If they realize that their rents won't increase or they'll be moved out of housing because their income has increased, they will find income. They will find employment. And at the end of the day, it's about the family, because we want to make sure that the children, they see the model of the parents going to work. It becomes the norm. It doesn't become something that's odd. So this whole program is meant to really work in the community, to create this level of self-sufficiency, opportunity, and we're delighted that the City of Milwaukee and the Housing Authority is going to participate.
Any other questions?
Thank you so much. It's been a great day.